Well, talking to friends on Discord and everything, I think based on what I see here for this particular Reddit post, that's kind of like how we're all approaching like the different parts of Superman. Why some consider him boring versus some don't. This guy's writing, he said Superman is his favorite superhero. His good-hearted nature has always made me like him, especially now that we've been getting darker and more flawed superheroes. It's really refreshing to see someone who doesn't have like flaws in that way and isn't a motivational hero like Batman or Spider-Man, but instead an aspirational hero, which I think is the big foundational difference. I don't need Superman to be relatable to me. I don't need him brought down to our level. I don't need him to basically be Hobo of Steel. I know there's people that love Zack Snyder's stuff and they love Man of Steel and all that stuff, but to me, that's not who I think Superman is fundamentally. It's just one of those things where I don't think we'll ever really agree on that. People are free to like that version of Superman if they want. It's just that if you've seen it on the blog and everything else that I've done, I want the pendulum to shift back a bit to where people can have their gots, their boys, their other things that are like that, even Watchmen, whatever. But when the whole entire wheelhouse is nothing but deconstruction as far as the eye can see, what are aspirational fans supposed to do? Well, again, I'm making my own stuff, so at least I'm plugging a hole that way. But this guy understands stuff about Superman the way I understand it, the way I, basically engage with the whole type of aspirational hero aspect. He's a flat art character. Like, it would have been an interesting wrinkle to see him raise his kid with Lois, but again, that's dead IPs are going to dead IP. Um, the one argument is like that he's saying here. I'll link this stuff below. Even with the everything else, and even I'll put up some screen caps of it so everybody can follow along if they want to. But people think he's boring and doesn't have a flaw to overcome to complete an arc and that thing. Well, the thing is, that's true because he's aspirational. He's not going to have common flaws that regular people have. He's something to strive for, to aim for, to be a better person than you are. That's my takeaway of Superman. He doesn't have to be, snap Zod's neck. And I know my friends are trying to explain to me like how they see it and like how that's like a growing moment for him, but that's because the Hobo of Steel movie is showcasing a like negative to some more positive kind of arc in some ways. But that's not what Superman is to me. He's a constant flat arc character that has a set code, set values, and everything else like that. The Hobo of Steel movie basically made him a reflection of people, common problems that we have, or the whole line of like, oh, if people had superpowers, this might be what they would act more like. And I understand a little bit of that appeal. I don't connect with it at all, and that's also probably the reason why I don't really connect with Vampire on a fundamental level because I, I like playing characters that this is their basic setup, this is who they are, that doesn't really change, and it's something more aspirational to shoot for, which Vampire is definitely not a setting for that. Which is probably the reason why I had a lot more fun with the human section overall. I mean, not to say that there was like that the vampire section wasn't worthwhile. We definitely did a lot of interesting things. It's just I engaged a lot more with the human section because I could be more like have a character that could act more aspirational and good natured and putting other people first and everything like that. Which it's just a fundamental disconnect I have. I just I've tried every which way to stick a triangle into a square hole here, but it just doesn't do anything for me. And I even made a joke on the Discord, like, you know what? Whatever I really don't like, you guys will probably like out the wazoo, because they prefer more grounded arcs where the character changes over time. Um, so yeah, like here. So yeah, that's how that's going. But yeah, with Superman, everybody else changes around him. As long as there's a change to the story, even if it's not the main character, it still works. Yeah, for Superman, that does is like he's always the constant pointing true north, and then another like the other part of this argument where he's saying Superman's overpowered. I also understand this argument, but I find it to be because of bad writers, and they have genuinely forgotten how to write for a superhero that's a Boy Scout, like a legitimate Boy Scout, just like what Chuck Dixon was saying. Uh, that's the reason why I also still link Literature Devil's video below, also because again, this is all just ramping up to where it's like I just miss having aspirational heroes to read about. You basically tip over a rock and you can find all the vigilantes, anti-heroes, and villains that you want, where they go through whatever arc they're going to go through. And there's plenty of stuff that has an excess amount of gore. I find the only time I really laugh at that stuff a whole lot is if it's like stop motion, like Robot Chicken, or if it's like that other thing that I linked on my Twitter the other day. If it has a favorite meme, like, yes, we have to find the queen, my brothers. Yes, I love Uganda Knuckles, so that was still pretty good. And even with stop motion stuff, that takes a whole lot of patience. Because I remember doing even a little bit of it in school way back when. Ooh, a couple of days just to do a couple of minutes, Oof. But yeah, just to get back on track with this thing. Usually, for Superman, most of the stuff that even some of my friends don't really connect with because they see it as boring is just like with Superman versus the Elite. Like, to me, that encapsulates what Superman's about to me. I mean, you can watch some clips below or even rent it. I would say just take a look at it a handful of times, because people see the appeal of Manchester Black and like some of the shortcuts he takes, but when it comes to the morals and everything, the Superman that I connect with doesn't snap, Zod's neck and all that stuff. Like, it's just one of those fundamental things where I'm just not going to connect with it. Again, I'm very glad that people find things to enjoy with all that stuff. But again, I also want to be catered to. Like, it's just a fundamental thing. Like, where you see one side of the equation getting all the attention, all the buzz, all the uplift, and even on Twitter, these writer uplifts, I don't even know if they really do anything. Because per capita, there's like writers outnumber readers like probably 5 to 1 or even more now. Yeah, because everybody does want a spotlight on whatever they're working on, but most of the general entertainment spotlight is focused on deconstruction, which is sad. I wish there were. It just makes me wish I did have a base where I could legitimately even springboard more stuff off of into the ether and be like, I want to be able to really help. But I'm just some simple Florida woman, so I will try to grow things as I can. I'll try to support things that I enjoy. And the thing is, I guess with the idea that Superman is overpowered, it's like you don't challenge aspirational heroes through, I would say, just general, fisticuffs all the time. I mean, that's the reason why even with Uplift Protocol, that's why the enemies got Star out of the picture for that one fight, because she would be able to bulldoze a couple of things physically if I so wished, but no, they wanted to get her out of the fight because they knew she would protect people, and they had to steal. They were specifically going after Judgment at the time, so you have to think of different ways to challenge an aspirational hero. And that's usually, again, through their morals, through whatever their code is. And it's kind of like the whole idea that the Batman versus Superman aspect in terms of like, yeah, you'll always have people that prefer Superman over Batman or Batman over Superman. It just depends on what that reader clicks with. And I'm just in a quandary right now because it's like I want aspirational stuff to get more catered to. You got deconstruction as a dime a dozen everywhere. And even if you say put in somebody that's more likable, even with the boys, out of principle, I'm not going to really watch it. I might see a few clips here and there and be like, well, if you've seen one evil Superman, you've seen them all. Uh, it's just a particular wheelhouse I don't find interesting. Even though I had friends that loved the Joker movie, I've honest to God, I listened to the music. I liked the music, but I'm not going to actually watch it. It just because I know fundamentally I will not connect with it, and I won't find much enjoyment out of it. So yeah, it's a very very human thing to want to have more stuff catered to what you like, or if you find stuff that overlaps a bit. And I just want more aspirational, superheroic characters. Um, and I guess in a way, with this thing on the Reddit thread, um, I think both sides of the argument kind of see it this way in terms of because I find a Superman that's down in the dirt, relatable air quote, to be just as boring and just to be as ignorant of what Superman really stands for. But they also see it kind of like on the same end, like they find the Superman I find interesting to be boring and not engaging whatsoever. So, and even this guy's following up with, you have fine arguments, but I'm going to have to disagree. There's nothing wrong with making Superman relatable. That is what I really, really disagree with. Like, Superman, again, does not have to be relatable whatsoever. He has to be inspirational, he has to be aspirational, and something that we strive for. Because I rather, even on a really bad day, like I'll make tons of rants and then I'll erase them. And it's like just to be able to vent, and then it's like okay, I'm gonna carry on and try to make something positive. Like what's something that caught my eye? Um, then this guy continues, yes, it's fun to portray Superman as always having the right answers and easily solving any problem he comes across, but the truth is that doing the right thing isn't easy, and Superman stories shouldn't be afraid to teach that. Sometimes things don't, again, that's kind of like ties into the earn your happy ending thing that I've found I have a dislike for nowadays because everybody wants to do that. Like, oh, good shouldn't win very easily. It's like, I see it as good should win, period. Um, you can make different challenges happen, but you know what? You can have them solve them in different ways, but it doesn't have to drag the character through the dirt and become air quote relatable. Uh, that's the thing. Aspirational, inspirational heroes make doing the right thing look easy. That's I think the fundamental disconnect I'm having with arguments about dragging Superman into the dirt. When I was a kid, it I enjoyed stuff that made things very clear cut, like something that you should strive to and look up to. Um, besides maybe the people around you or your parents or your family, because those values are important too. And the thing is, because this guy's on the same level as some of my friends where his favorite Superman story of all time was Hobo of Steel. He is an invincible magical hero that never makes mistakes. He's a fallible human being that can get angry, make mistakes, be forced in extreme circumstances beyond his control. DCEU Superman taught me that doing the right thing isn't easy. You might make mistakes and endure failures, but what really matters to you is you find the strength to push forward. If Wonder Woman, Captain America, and Spider-Man can teach us lesson, why not Superman? Because Superman is an inspirational, aspirational hero. He doesn't have to be relatable. Let me repeat that. He doesn't have to be relatable. People want to make everything relatable nowadays. I think that's also where I'm having a fundamental disconnect with a lot of stuff because around every quarter, it's like another example of this is an extremely flawed character, but we're not going to play up their virtues much. It's like that's what I'm looking for. It's like you can have characters with flaws, but when it comes to superheroes, I have a very fixed way of looking at superheroes. Once the deconstruction change, started, I was just like, oh my god, because I can understand that being an outlier, but it wasn't the standard of the actual, setting or setup. Uh, yeah, it's just a different way of connecting with people and seeing how things work. But I've just found I've never really made that leap. I know there's people that really enjoy that sort of stuff, and sometimes they'll convince me to try to watch it. But I mean, just like even with me trying to convince them to watch things I enjoy, it's probably the shoes on the other foot. They're probably just not as interested in watching it as I'm not as interested in watching whatever they're offering. I mean, certain tastes and wheelhouses will overlap sometimes, but it's just one of those things where it's like kind of like I guess the old sports fan adage, like what you're always going to root for whatever your home team is. This guy also went on to say, let's see, uh, yeah, like the aspect that Superman is flawless. Superman, the aspirational Superman, still does make mistakes, but they're usually mistakes that will reveal that in the end his more good-natured, unchanging flat arc morals will stay the same, and it'll be a reflection on him into how he's trying to like change society for the better. Um, yeah, I do try to understand, but it's still just it's still just a disconnect. Um, that said, writers shouldn't be afraid of deconstructing Superman as long as they remember to reconstruct him. I will agree there. Like, they don't remember to reconstruct a lot of these characters. They just keep the deconstruction, the evil Superman stand-in. Homelander is a dime a dozen. Superman in Injustice is a dime a dozen nowadays. Everybody likes to rip apart the big blue Boy Scout, but they don't put him back together again. The notable exceptions are Heroes Unleashed and Astro City. And even New Olympus Saga. New Olympus Saga had CJ put in his version of Superman in there, which is more of like, the proxy of the Golden or Silver Age version of him. But even then, he reconstructs things. He might deconstruct some stuff, but CJ remembers to reconstruct, which is vital in today's entertainment avenues, because everybody has gone deconstruction crazy, but they don't remember to rebuild the blocks. After this guy did all this, let me see if I can find it. Let me pause this for a moment. Yeah, I think I don't know if it's the OP or another person that came in. He's remarking, I see your argument here, but the thing is, the type of heroes that teach us that doing the right thing is always easy are the cathartic or motivational heroes, which are characters like Spider-Man and Batman who have the struggles while doing the right thing. Superman is an aspirational hero, which are heroes that aren't necessarily supposed to have struggles or flaws of doing the right thing, but instead are there to set moral standard of what the right thing is for the cathartic or motivational heroes to aspire to, which is why they often have Superman, Batman going back and forth. But that is a definite fundamental difference. Batman is the one that's supposed to be snapping Zod's neck. Wonder Woman was the one that snapped Maxwell Lord's neck, when she was controlling Superman. Those are the heroes that are supposed to be doing that, not Superman. I will say that I've related to Superman. I should have clarified that Superman can be relatable, but people who criticize him for being unrelatable should look at him through a different perspective, which is whether is he inspiring or not. I think whether or not he's inspiring or not is much more important than whether or not he's relatable. Yep. And I'll say that I first used to like the idea of deconstructions before it was something interesting. that I haven't seen before, but there have been so many deconstructions to the point that it's become tedious. It's totally fine though if some people like deconstructions, which again, it's just the overall bloat factor. Everybody's the boys, everybody's Kirkman's Invincible. Everyone is basically 90s, mid 90s gore fest. Um, Again, depending on the genre, you expect some gore to happen, like in traditional horror pop, but when everybody's on that wheelhouse where it's just constantly going through all these things that are like, what is the current trend now? It can get very, you know, disheartening just to see that like that's the only thing that's really being catered to. You know, I want a little bit of catering. Yeah, I don't ask for much. Just give me some Reconstructionist bent on superheroes that becomes like even more of a breakout hit than the Joker. You know, at least one shining moment. And I'm not even counting the Marvel junk. It's just like, have we really had anything other than deconstructing, air quote, the boring aspirational hero? Like, because most genres have been constantly that. Oh, let's subvert fantasy. Let's subvert sci-fi. Let's subvert the pulps. Let's subvert blah blah blah. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely put this on the blog as like a mini rant because it's like, oh my god, oh help me, help! I need a life raft, and one of those life rafts is Uplift Protocol. Woo! But yeah, I guess to close this out, this other guy, Leader Vladimir, is saying, you are entitled to your opinions just like I'm entitled to mine. We're all Superman fans here. We just see things differently. I'm just saying Superman has experienced constant repetition since his debut, and perhaps you could be a little bit more patient with them. You don't have to like, I certainly don't like every little thing with Superman on it. New 52, Smallville, Young Justice. But those stories will have to be told sooner or later. That's what being a storyteller is about. I guess it's just because also when it comes to certain kinds of trends, you wish certain kind of trends wouldn't last for decades and decades. It's like, come on, let's have the pendulum shift a bit more back towards, you know, stuff I read when I was a kid. Uh, it's because a lot of those old Superman tales gave me a sense of like, besides right and wrong, like what I should try to aspire to do in my regular life, even if I'm having a shitty day, trying to be like, you know what, no, I'm going to power through this and I'm going to try to uh, be more positive. So that's ultimately what I want from my Superman. I don't need him to be a broken, relatable guy that won't even save his own dad, that will snap Zod's neck. And yeah, you know what? I am salty about that thing because there's no actual form of Superman on screen or in TV that is what I recognize as Superman. Everybody that loves Hobo of Steel is having their cake and eating it too, but there's nothing on the table for me. Like, it's like, oh, look, a handful of old messed up napkins. Like, here you go. Oh, yeah, there you go. That's all we're gonna give you. Yeah, it's just human to want the things that you want. That's the reason why DC is on its way out, I think, and people probably should prepare for that. If you have a hobby store, don't prioritize comic books as the leading thing, because just like, Blockbuster, there's other aspects that are going to probably KO the market besides cough cough. Have a good day, everybody.